The SUMIF function is one of the most useful functions in Excel, and today I'm going to help you go from beginner to advanced, going over how to use wildcards, work with dates, and even learn how to use SUMIFS and work with multiple criteria in just a single formula. So let's get started. I've got a table here that has date, item, category, units sold, and revenue fields. And I'm going to start with a basic example, and that's going to show you how to calculate the total sales for all the apples. So over here in G2, I'm going to type in equals SUMIF. So the SUMIF function has three main arguments: the range, the criteria, and the sum range. The first range is actually the criteria range. So this is going to be the range that I'm looking in to see if my criteria is found in there. So I'm going to select the items, and then for the criteria, I'm going to type in apples. And then my sum range is going to be revenue. So what it's doing is looking at B2 to B11, which is this range in blue, and saying for every instance that the word apples is found, which is here, here, and here, extract these values and then sum them up. So I'm going to hit enter, and that returns a value of 310. So if I were to select these values, 100, 90, and 120, those are the values that pertain to the apples. And if I look here on my status bar here, it shows me that's a sum of 310. So that is correct. So that SUMIF calculation told me that that was the value of all the apples. Now, what you can do is instead of actually typing in the word apples, which you want to avoid any hard coding in your formulas just to make it a lot easier to maintain it later on and make changes to it, you can delete this. So instead of having it in quotes, just reference the cell here in H2. So now it still gets me that correct calculation, but now I can change this to, let's say I want to look at oranges. So if I type in oranges, 120. So there's only one entry for oranges right there, 120. So it makes it a lot easier now to update this formula and put in different values for it, because an easy mistake to make in Excel is not realizing that you've got hard-coded values here. And so you may think it's referencing something when really it's referencing something else. One thing you can also do with SUMIF is calculate the total value of things that are over a certain threshold. Like let's say I want to sum up all the values when the units sold were at least 50 or more. So if it's 50 units or more that were sold, I want to sum up the total sales. So working with numbers can be a little bit trickier, but it's not a whole lot more complicated. I'm going to show you how we can do this as well. So let's say the cutoff is 50. I'm not going to hard code this yet, but just as a placeholder here. So with the SUMIF function, I'm going to specify my criteria range, which is the first one. And this time, because I'm looking at the units sold, I'm looking in column D. So I'm going to select these values. So D2 to D11. The criteria in this case, here I'm going to put this in quotes again. And I'm going to type in greater than and also equals. So if you want a greater than or equals, you will need to type in both of them. If it's just greater than, then of course you don't need equals. But in this case, I'm using greater than or equal to. So I put that in quotes and then the number 50 as well. So anything that's greater than or equal to 50, that's going to meet my criteria. And then the sum range is going to be revenue here. Enter, and that gives me 650. So all these values where the units sold are more than 50. So that's going to be this one, and then 80, 60, and 100. So that totals 650, which is correct. Now, I can also hard code this just like I did with the text value. So here, I'm going to erase the 50. And so I've got greater than or equal to in quotes. I still need that in quotes. And I'm going to use the ampersand to connect that to this value here. Hit enter, and it still gives me the same result here. So you can see I've put in just that operator in quotes to make sure that stays the same. But for my actual value, I can change that here in H3. So if I wanted the cutoff to be 100, then it's going to update based on 100. So in this case, 120 and 100 would meet that criteria. That adds up to 310, which is the value that I've got here. But the benefit of doing it this way is obviously it's a lot easier to maintain and update this. And anytime you're using formulas with a range like this, where especially if you want to copy down your formulas, you want to consider freezing the cells as well. So if I select D2 to D11, I want to hit F4 to freeze these just to make sure that if I copy this down, my range isn't going to change. Otherwise, it's going to be referencing a different set of cells and my results could be incorrect. Now let's go to a more advanced example where we're using wildcards. Because right now, up until this point, I've been using exact matches for oranges and apples, but potentially you could misspell them, or you could just be looking for partial matches. Like in the case of cheddar cheese over here. Let's say I just type in the word cheese and do a lookup. That's not going to result in any sort of match, because if I'm just doing a normal SUMIF without any wildcards, then it's going to look for an exact match. So here I'm going to type in the word cheese, and I'm going to set up a SUMIF function again, just to show you that it's not going to work and how we can fix this. So the criteria range is going to be still in that item category, and the criteria I'm going to reference is cheese. Sum range is the total revenue. I'm going to hit enter, and obviously it returns a value of 0 just because that value wasn't found. So I'm going to freeze these cells just like I did earlier. And what I'm also going to do is now adjust my search range to say, okay, my criteria, so that I'm adding a wildcard. And a wildcard in Excel, it can be just using the asterisks. And I'm going to put that in quotes and then connect that using an ampersand to basically have an asterisk before the H4. And I'm also going to add one after. So ampersand again, add an asterisk again. So I've got an asterisk effectively before and after my value. And the purpose of this is the asterisk is effectively saying, I don't care what comes before, as long as H4 is in here. And in this case, this asterisk is saying, I don't care what happens after. So as long as the word cheese is contained somewhere within that, these asterisks are going to make sure that it's going to pull in that value. So if I just had this asterisk at the beginning, then it's going to say, I don't care what happens before this text, but the end would have to end with whatever's here, unless I add this asterisk at the end. So basically the asterisk is saying, you don't care what happens after or before, depending on your position. In this case, I don't care what happens before or after. That's why I've got it in both places. So now when I hit enter, it's going to pull in that cheddar cheese total now of 75, because here obviously contains the word cheese. And so it was a match in that case based on the wildcard. Now, the dangerous part with using wildcards is if you're not specific enough, or if you just put in a couple letters. Let's say I type in just the letter A. Obviously, this is going to pull in a lot, because now it's going to look for anything that contains the letter A, regardless of where it is. It's going to pull in apples. It's going to pull in bananas. It's going to pull in cheddar cheese. It's going to put in almond milk, right? All these things, as long as they contain an A, it's going to be included and going to give me a match. So that's why you want to be careful when using wildcards, just to make sure that if you're doing so, you're doing so in a way that you're not going to be mixing in results from somewhere else. Because in this case, as you can imagine, it can be very easy now to add in things that you weren't intending to count or to sum up. So that's why when you're using wildcards, you want to be very careful with that and keep that in mind. Another thing I'm going to show you is how to work with dates. So here I've got dates for January 2026. And let's say I want to cut off of anything after and including January 15, 2026. So I'm going to show you how we can set that up as well. So in this case, I'm going to use the SUMIF function as well. And for the range, I'm looking at the date range here. For my criteria, what I'm going to type in is I'm going to use the greater than or equal to operator again, and then use ampersand to connect this. The ampersand is effectively connecting this to something else. In this case, I'm going to use the date function. For the year is going to be 2026, the month 1 for January, and 15 for the 15th day. So anything after and including January 15, 2026 is going to meet my criteria. And then accordingly, it's going to sum up this range. So if I hit enter, it's going to tell me I missed a bracket there, but it's going to pull in 745. So if that's correct, this should match up to that, which it does. Sum of 745. So everything after January 15, 2026 and including January 15, 2026, it met my criteria. So it was included in this calculation. And just like before, we can reference a cell here as well. So if I just type in January 15th, and if it's going to format as a date, then what I can do is get rid of this date function and just reference that specific cell, January 15th. And so whether you're referencing it as a cell or as a function, it's going to work both ways. Another thing we can do is sum up values that aren't equal to something. For example, let's say I want all the values that aren't apples. In this case, I'm going to type in apples over here just so I can reference it easily. And with the SUMIF function, I'm going to specify the item range. And my criteria in this case is going to be not equal to. So I'm combining the greater than and less than operators, and that is the same as saying not equal to something. Close that and link it to this cell here, which isn't seen now because my formula is covering it, but that's where I put in apples. And then my sum range is going to be revenue over here. Now, when I close this out, it's going to give me 775. So everything that isn't an apple. So if I select these values and these ones, that gives me 775. So you can do it that way as well. Using the greater than and less than operators, you're combining them to create a not equal operator. Now, before I talk about SUMIFs, I'm going to share with you a tip that can be really useful when you're creating spreadsheets for other users and you're worried about them making data entry errors, such as in this example here where I said, if we spell this wrong, it's not going to return the correct value because it's not an exact match. So one way to get around this is to force people to use a drop-down list. So I'm going to delete this value for oranges here, and I'm going to go to data validation. And if I select a list here, basically I'm saying the data has to be one of the values from this list. So for my source, I'm going to select my entire range here. And it doesn't matter that there's duplicate values. Excel's going to automatically filter them out. Click on OK. And now what happens is people have a list to choose from. So now that takes away the possibility that they're going to misspell it, because now it's going to force them to select one of those options. If I type in something that isn't correct, like I type in the word orange, it's going to auto-correct there to do that. But let's say I add a couple extra letters here. It's going to tell me that it doesn't match that criteria. So I can retry and put in the correct one. So it'll give the user an error to say that is not the correct value or not a value that's matching in that drop-down list. So by doing that, you can take away the risk that someone's going to enter an incorrect value or an incomplete, or there's going to be extra spaces before and after. So that's a good option to consider, and it's not difficult to set up. Just go to data validation, select list, and select your range, and it's really easy. Even if you've got duplicate values in there, it's not an issue. Now let's go over how to use the SUMIFS function. With the SUMIFS function, this is a bit of a newer function for Excel, but unless you're running a really old machine, chances are you'll have it on your version of Excel. And what it allows you to do is combine multiple criteria into one single formula, making it a whole lot easier. So now what I can do is within just a single function now, I can look at, let's say, Apple sales after or including January 15th, 2026. Here's how it works. So with the SUMIFS function, the big difference here is that unlike with the SUMIF function, the sum range is at the beginning. With the SUMIF function, you set up your criteria range, then the criteria, and then the summation range. With the SUMIFS, you're specifying the sum range first, and that's because you could have multiple criteria ranges, right? And rather than Excel trying to predict how many you're going to use, it's asking you to specify that sum range right at the beginning. So the sum range is going to be my revenue here. And now for the criteria, now it's just as simple as setting up the criteria that we've already gone over earlier in this video. So I'm going to look at my criteria range. So this time it actually specifies that it's a criteria range, which is really helpful. Whereas with SUMIF, it just said range, which may have been a bit more confusing. So the criteria range here for apples is going to be items. And then I'm going to specify apples here. And then for criteria range 2, I'm going to look at the dates. And for the criteria, I'm going to put in quotes again, greater than or equal to, close quotes, connect an ampersand to it, and specify that January 15th date. And now I can close it. I can use however many criteria you want. And technically, you could even use this with one criteria. There's no rule that you have to use multiple. You could just use SUMIFS if you're comfortable doing that way. And that avoids the issue of getting confused about where to put your arguments in what order. But anyways, this is how it's going to look at. It's going to sum up the values in E2 to E11 when they meet these two criteria. First, B2 to B11, that's going to match the value for apples. A2 to A11, as long as that's greater than or equal to January 15th. If I hit enter now, we've got 120. And that is correct because there's only one entry for apples after January 15th, and that is this one on January 22nd for 120. So it allows me to set up a much cleaner function that allows me to incorporate multiple criteria without having to set up a more complex formula and having multiple SUMIF statements. One last thing I'm going to cover is how these formulas work when you're dealing with tables versus just simple ranges. Like, although this is a table, it's not actually set up as a table in Excel, but I can convert it into a table. If I go to Insert, click on Table, and click OK, it's going to convert this into a table. And now the difference with SUMIF or SUMIFs, whatever you're working with, is that you don't have to worry now about freezing your cells or anything like that, because now I can just select these entire columns and fields a lot more easily. So back to that example of, let's say I wanted to do a SUMIFS function. So the sum range, I'm going to select revenue, and you'll notice now when my arrow points downward, a black arrow, that tells me I'm selecting this entire field. If I click on it, you can see it says table 2 revenue. So it gives me the name of the field. And then for the criteria range, I can also specify the item. It's going to tell me the name of the table and then the field. So I'm referencing the whole item field. And then I can specify my criteria being apples. And then for my last criteria, I'm going to select date. And then criteria is still going to be the same thing, greater than or equal to. Use the ampersand, connect it to the date, and then close it. So it's a lot easier this way if you're working with tables now, because you know exactly what range you're referencing. And if you add items to it, it's automatically going to expand. You're not going to have to worry about whether you've frozen the ranges or not. Now, if I hit enter, it's still going to give me the same result as here. The difference is here I've got ranges. So if you're looking at this, you may not be sure if you're referencing the right range, if it should be larger, if the fields are in the right section. Here, it's a lot cleaner. You can see specifically what the fields are, what table you're referencing. So that's why it's always useful to use a table when you're doing these kinds of calculations, just so it's clear what you're referencing and it minimizes the chances for mistakes. That wraps up this video. I hope you did learn something. And if you did like it, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more of these types of videos. Thanks for watching.